G'day and welcome to our coverage of the Austar Two Wheels Magazine 6 Hour here at Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway. A full grid of riders, some 50 teams have nominated for this event, steeped in motorcycle tradition in this country. We're currently in practice. You can hear the guys out there just starting to get to know the circuit. Let's do that ourselves right now. Earlier in the day, we had a look at this circuit. Let's talk about gears and tyres. Let's work out what this layout looks like from a two-wheel perspective.
Well, here we are now on board with Michael Dowson on the Eastern Creek Motorcycles Wrecker R1 Yamaha. Just leaving the pits here and going to get a bit of heat in the tyre. It's great to see Michael Dowson come out of retirement to do this race. The 6-hour race is gathering a lot more momentum and is really becoming a very, very special event. He just generates a little bit of heat out of the tyres here as he's leaving the pits, and then we'll come down through turn 12, which is a big constant radius left-hand corner coming onto the very long Eastern Creek Straight. You can see the tacho there buzzing right up to 12,000 revs with a speedo in the left very, very clearly. 260, 70. We'll be going into top gear now, 285 odd kilometres per hour. Back through one gear through this very, very fast left-hander. Accelerates hard again, probably in fifth gear, goes back down through the box all the way to second gear for this very, very tight left-hand corner. Very important here to get your line right so he drifts out wide, apexes correctly, short shifts it up into third gear now. The front wheel just come up momentarily, down through the right-hander here, short shifts again into fourth gear. As you come up over the little hump there, the front wheel just elevates off the ground, fourth gear, back down to third gear for turn 4, this tight right-hander. Very important here to get the power on well and set yourself up for these flowing set of next corners. Through turn 5, the left-hander in third gear, accelerate hard into fourth, try and straight line this little dogleg section. We come up here as much as possible. Back to second through turn 6, accelerate very, very hard on this long uphill climb, which leads to a very, very fast blind left-hand corner into fourth gear through turn 8. Crank it right over, foot pegs touching the ground, drift out wide, back down through the box into second to get into this tight right-hander at turn 9. Power on here, these R1s really want to light the tyres up out of this one. Into third, into fourth, right up to 12,000 again. You see 220 kilometres per hour down there. Into fifth gear, back to fourth, back to third through this big constant left-hand turn. You go right out to the apex here, pull it back in through turn 12 and on the gas real hard again in second gear. Up 10, 11,000, pulling 215 kilometres already. They're amazing how hard these bikes accelerate. You can see going down the straight, 282, 289 kilometres per hour at 11,500. Now that was a real exciting lap on one of these awesomely powerful R1 Yamahas around the Eastern Creek circuit.
Well, a right royal entrance for the current king of World Endurance Championship Racing, Warwick Nowland, getting a bird's eye view of Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway. That's a bit of valuable R&D, Dennis Neal.
Well, it would be. It'd be many years since he's raced here at Eastern Creek. You see he's really enjoying it. It might even be his first time in a chopper. But it's a great idea that the promoters have put together to bring him in. Adds a bit more credence to the event. And Warwick, I'm sure, would really appreciate the extra effort that the promoter went to do this.
Very likeable young guy, very promotable and certainly very determined. He's riding a similar bike today to that of the machine that he won the World Endurance Championship. And we're going to catch up with him in just a few moments as he touches down at Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway. What a coup for the promoters. Well, World Endurance Champion Warwick Nowland, welcome home to Sydney for the Austar Two Wheels Magazine 6 Hour. Good to have you back.
Oh, it's fantastic to be back, and it's good to arrive here in style in a helicopter. It's great to be back here and with all my friends too. It's good to see all the old people from racing.
And it's a 6 hour today. That's almost a sprint race for you in the format you're used to.
Yeah, for sure. It shouldn't be too difficult, I don't think. The team overseas in Europe said I should be able to do it myself. But I've got Mark Willis, who's a Grand Prix rider, riding with me. So yeah, we should do okay.
On a Suzuki that has been largely untested, Warwick.
Definitely, it's a brand new bike. It was in a box a few days ago in a crate, so we've just got out here and we're trying to do the best we can with it. Basically, it's standard, and we've qualified second, 0.2 of a second off pole position, and you know the bike in pole position, they've been racing it for a couple of years, so it's fully developed, and our bike's just out of the crate. So fantastic advertisement for Suzuki.
Now, you're used to going hard every second in your World Championship today. I don't think it'll be a lot different for you.
No, Mark and I have spoke about how we're going to approach this race, and we're just going to be on it the whole time. You know, we want to win the race for ourselves and also for Suzuki and the team. The team have put a big effort in to get everything together, so it's going to be action.
Tony Rees clipped pole in the Yamaha. You had 17/100ths off that.
Yeah, we just made a little bit of a... we thought we had pole position, and we thought, well, we'll just leave it at that. And then we went back out on the track with some tyres to scrub in for the race. And, you know, with 5 minutes to go, Tony went out there and grabbed pole position. So it was a bit of a bummer, but that's okay. You know, it's a 6-hour race. Yeah. No one will know about pole position this afternoon.
Good luck, and it's nice to have you home, Warwick.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic to be here.
Well, a full grid of riders today at Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway for the Austar Communications 2 Wheels Magazine 6 Hour, and Dennis Neal joins me in commentary. Wow, what a coup. Warwick Nowland returning to Australia and riding in this event. Though Tony Rees has stepped up to the plate then.
Yeah, Tony Rees, and they brought another Kiwi friend of Tony's out, Paul G, to ride with him. Graham Morris feeling a little bit detuned from a recent viral infection. So he's brought over Paul G, who's another very, very good New Zealand racer, to partner them on this R1. Now, they've got a lot of experience. The Warwick Nolan, Jamie Stafer, Mark Willis team, also obviously a wealth of experience there, but their bike is unsorted. It's only been put together, this team, by Dean Evans, well-known motorcycle rep in the trade and enthusiastic extraordinaire type of a guy, in the last week or so. So there's lots of other competitive teams here. This race is really gathering some momentum now. I think it's the 4th year since Dave Stone has resurrected the race after a 10-year break when it used to be known as the Castrol 6-hour race. But full grid here, 50 machines. You see the frantic activity, all the last minute fine tuning and preparations of the bikes, filling them up on the grid before the start.
Now, a very unique starting system for this one. If you've been watching our continued coverage of Australian motorcycle road racing on Speed Week, you don't run to the bikes in our other coverages. In this particular effort, you have to bolt over and grab the bike. I know that Nowland is not starting on the bike. Willis will be opening the account for the 34 team. Rees, there is Dowson. Good to have Michael Dowson back. What a name he has been over so many years. And here is 50 riders getting set. It's not enough. You have to manhandle one of these machines around Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway for 6 hours, but you've got to run to your rocket ship as well. Our helicopter will give us some great aerial shots today. This is the Austar Communications 2 Wheels 6-hour event. And our thanks to the guys at Eastern Creek Motorcycle Wreckers for the onboard pictures you'll see today. Here we go, getting set for the sprint. Everybody hoping for a clean start. As Warwick said, pole position won't mean a great deal at the end of the day. Everybody away cleanly, it would seem. Wow, big grid of riders, Dennis.
Yeah, I noticed the Mark Willis, Warwick Nolan Suzuki there was very, very slow from its second qualifying grid position. Don't know what happened there. Might have had problem getting the bike into gear, but it looks like the Bike Biz Yamaha of Tony Rees, Graham Morris and Paul G is off to a brilliant start already, very, very closely followed by Chad Turnbull on the Kawasaki 600.
Amazing speed. We saw that earlier when we spent a lap with Michael Dowson. You can see Turnbull on the number 3 bike looking strong already. There goes the number 1 of James Skordos, Simon Thomas and Jeff Hill. Dennis, some teams riding with 2 riders today, some with 3.
Yes, well, it depends. It's very hard to get an evenly matched team in these long distance races. And that's where a lot of the teams have fallen down. They might get one real fast rider, but the other rider lets them down a lot. You need to try and get 2 riders or 3 riders that are very evenly matched. That's what makes the difference in these long distance races. Having said it's a 6-hour race, a lot of them, particularly in this first hour, will treat it very much as a sprint to try and sort of set the pattern for the race. It was really interesting to notice how far back. In fact, I haven't seen the yellow Suzuki from Dean Evans. It's way, way back at the moment. I'd say in 15th or further back position. But the Yamaha Bike Biz machine has now got to the front on the R1, and Chad Turnbull's close behind on the 600. They figure that the 600 will be more user-friendly and easier to ride at race pace for a whole duration of the race. Be easier on tyres and easier on fuel. Look at the power of that R1 just accelerate away as we go down the straight.
I think here comes Dowson as well. He's absolutely charging down that. They've left the chopper for dead set dead into this left-hander with 289 kilometres an hour they were touching, getting into that section there. Rees electing to ride first, doing well. There's just a full grid all day. The pit activity will be frantic. It looked like that was Dowson going by just then. Interesting combination. Chad Turnbull and Sean Geronimi. Two young guys, certainly Geronimi with very little experience on the bigger machines, but a talented 250 rider, and Turnbull, a natural talent. Roland Cruck, what a great start for him aboard the 22. He's sharing Trevor Rogers and Marcello Garabotto by the looks of things aboard the Honda. So Geronimi, big day for him today.
Yeah, well, Sean Geronimi, as you said, hasn't had much experience on this particular type of machine. He's riding a 600 Kawasaki. He's a two-time Australian 250 Grand Prix champion. Absolutely dominated that class the last 2 years. Set new lap records at most circuits that he went to. But it's a different kettle of fish riding one of these bikes. They're much heavier to handle. Won't be anywhere near as nimble as his little 250. And I think if he's put under a lot of pressure, that's going to possibly be his downfall, because in these races he's been so used to being way out in front that the pressure hasn't really been on him. But I'm sure in this race, over the course of 6 hours, he's going to have many fantastic dices and will have a lot of pressure placed upon him.
Look at that acceleration down that long main straightaway at Eastern Creek Raceway. Here comes the 900 just eating up the 600. Just ahead of him. That's what's interesting about this. We've got a 1000cc bike out in front just at the moment, an R1. You drop back then to a 600cc Kawasaki and back to a CBR 900 in third. So just a smattering of different capacities today, and everybody on an even footing.
Well, that's what's great about this particular race. There's a good mixture of bikes and machines and classes within the race. I tend to agree that I think over a 6 hour duration, two top riders on a 600 would have a very, very good chance, because most of these bikes won't do an hour to a tank full of petrol around here. Quite a wide open fast circuit. I know definitely the big Yamaha 1000 R1s and the Fireblades won't make it to the hour. The 600s can just make it to that hour, and of course if they can do that, they'll get one less fuel stop, which will pick up an advantage of probably like 50 seconds by the time you slow down, refuel, and then get back up to race pace again. So lots of different logics, lots of different theories in it, and that's what makes 6 hour racing very, very interesting to watch.
There is Dowson back on the number 2 bike. Not a great result for them qualifying wise. An interesting mix of experience and raw aggression with Marty Atley sharing the duties. Oh, somebody's gone down the road very early in the piece here, Dennis Neal.
Yeah, I think that's Gary Crilly from Monza Imports down in Melbourne. He's riding a big R1. You can see how heavy it is to pick it up. He's just going to have a quick look down. No doubt it will have a bent handlebar. And let's hope nothing else is too damaged. He's having a brief look. You see he's realising now just how disappointed he is after all the effort to get up here, set the bike up, do qualifying and everything. He's taking a second breath now, jumped back on it and going to clip on his little lanyard thing off the cool switch and get the engine fired up and see if he can get back to the pits.
Back in 4th place at the moment is Steve Martin, the Ducati, rounding out the top 4. So an interesting mix of manufacturer. That's another part we've got to consider too. But Dennis, getting back to what you're saying earlier about strategies, there are really only 2 main elements in your pit strategy today. It's got to be tyres and fuel.
Well, that's it. And the other thing is some of the teams, for instance, the Warwick Nolan, Jamie Stafer, Mark Willis team have fitted a big tank. They're running in the prototype class on that 750 Suzuki, which is basically standard. Oh, another bike has just slipped off there. It's interesting to see. I can't see any rain at the moment, but that's another stride. No, that's a replay. Oh, no, it isn't actually. That's Phil Chapman, Steve Smaller on the Cessnock Motorcycles machine. They've come to grief there too, just lost the front end down the road they went. They've obviously got plenty of time, if the bike's rideable, to get it back to the pits, maybe fix up a handlebar or the levers or foot pegs, whatever's damaged, and get the thing going again so all the riders can have a good chance and get some interest for their sponsors out there.
Well, that's really, let's look at this in slow motion, Dennis, to see whether you picked it right. Looks like, yep, front end washed right out. This is really dispelling any rumours at all that they're going to pace themselves today. Everybody's got to go hard every lap, don't they?
Well, basically, particularly in this first hour, I think you really have to. You see that machine coming back to the pits now. The pit crew all were totally caught unaware. They probably haven't had a chance to see that on the monitor yet. The other rider there quickly putting on his gloves and explaining what went on. I don't think the thing looks too damaged. It's only a bit of cosmetic problems there. The clutch lever's still intact. They'll be looking down at the gear lever on that side. It still looks basically in the right position. But that's the all part of 6 hour racing. It's a real team effort.
Well, further down pit lane is a man who's got to be pretty happy with the way things are going so far. Graham Morris, his team is leading. He's done a few of these races in his time.
Yeah, I've done about 6 or 7 of these, so I don't mind the Tony going out and doing the hard yards and putting us in front the way he has. That's excellent.
Yeah, good start for you.
Yeah, excellent. I think he's sort of up to about 6 or 7 second lead now, and looks like he's pulling away all the time, so hopefully Paul and I can hold our end up and stay there.
Is it just a go hard strategy, Morrow, or is there some tactics here?
Not really. I think he just wanted to break their back a little bit early, but then we've got to shut it down a bit because it's a long way to go, and the other ones are pretty hard on tyres, so we've got to really, probably I think the lead he's got now, if we can just sneak that out a little bit more and just stay consistent, because you don't know where the 600s are at in view of their fuel stops and tyre changes, so it's all going to make more sense after the first or second stop.
What's your tyre strategy today?
We expect to change at least 2 rears, possibly 3 rears, and so it might be 3 rears and 1 front, we think. So, but it's the same thing. It's not something we've done a lot of testing-wise. So, but I'm pretty confident about the rears. The fronts is a bit of an unknown quantity, actually.
Oh, the face of experience right there. Look out, we got trouble here. It looks like the defending champ Simon Thomas has gone off the circuit in turn 11. So, wow, let's look further back in the field here on board the Aprilia RS250 of John Linney, Jane Normoyle. They go underneath the big Goodyear sign, a blind left-hander. Must get your attention as you head in here. Really tight braking coming up just here. It sweeps right back, almost virtually 180 degrees. Good camera angle there.
It is a good shot, and it's going to be difficult for these guys riding 250s. They're going to really have to keep their wits about them. They don't have mirrors on the bike, but the way some of these more powerful R1s and Fireblades and Ducatis come whistling by these little 250s, they're going to have to be really, really aware of that.
Well, great shots. Way over the left-hand side of the bike here, and it's Linney on board. Gee, look at that. Very close stuff, considering this is a 6-hour. They are bunched right up. Look back over the left shoulder to check where the opposition is and if there's any of those ferocious R1s behind me.
Well, that's the beauty of a 6-hour. They're having a great dice, these three. They probably all know each other quite well, and you just see one pulls out of the draft there and slips down, and you can know he didn't do it. The other rider came across the front there, knee down through turn 1. Still got very high corner speeds, these machines. They just don't have the squirt that the bigger capacity bikes have going down the straights.
Well, Thomas, it's been a pretty disappointing start to that campaign. Thomas and Skordosh riding together today. Wow, look how close it is, just up ahead. Thomas going off the circuit. We've had a couple down already today, so just tells you that everybody is going hard right from the outset. There is the battle we've just been watching with that onboard camera. We've got a couple of onboards today, and we're looking down the track from our chopper position going into turn 1, where they were touching almost 290 kilometres an hour. That is dead set insane. Oh, somebody down here. Oh, it's Thomas. You can't believe that. The defending champs have gone down. Must be a problem with the bike. Let's go to James Skordos in the pits, see if we can find out what went wrong. James, not the start you guys needed right here.
No, it's terrible. I don't know what happened. Simon's complaining about front end trouble, so I've just got to go out there and we've changed the front there, and hopefully we've fixed it up, and just got to test the front for a couple of laps and then hopefully get into it. Hopefully we've sorted out the problem, hey?
How'd you feel after that get off at Oran Park? You okay?
Oh, I've still got a sore head, actually. People have been shaking my head all weekend, and I've just had to sort of hold out the other hand because it's just, oh, yeah, no, that's another thing. Hopefully as soon as I get started, that can get put to the back of my mind, not at the front.
Well, not surprisingly, James Skordos is not too happy with the way things have worked out, as we now see Willis aboard the 34, the Suzuki. It's really starting to get interesting here now. You can see Turnbull running really hard. There is your race leader, Tony Rees, and a really good battle between Thomas and Turnbull is eventuating behind him. We'll look to pick that up right now, in fact. Thomas goes a little wide and Turnbull sweeps by on the bottom. Wow, Thomas was way wide. It's got to be said, Dennis Neal, there had to be a problem with Simon Thomas's bike to run off the circuit and then just a couple of corners later really unload the thing.
Yeah, I'd say he might have gone for a harder compound tyre or something like that, trying to possibly do the whole race, maybe by using a very hard compound front, because some of the teams haven't had much experience changing the wheels, and it's quite difficult to change the fronts in a short time.
Turnbull, what a great ride for Turnbull at the moment aboard the 600, sitting there in the 3rd position, and there is the, oh no, Thomas has gone down, big spin down to that right-hander. So it's not started off well at all for the Wet For You Maverick boys. And Thomas and Postman Pat combining today. How would you rather go off, like that or high side?
Oh no, definitely like that. That was a pretty minor little crash. Just might have hit something on the ground there and lost the front around, did a nice little pirouette, picked it up. I don't think there'll be too much damage there. Started the bike now, it's fired up quite well. He'll get back around to the pits possibly, or if the thing feels all right, he'll keep going, otherwise he'll quickly pull into the pits.
Let's have a look at this again in slow motion to see whether anything does. Just seem to lose the front end.
Yeah, and I think just leaned it over and basically lost traction. Once again, might be using a harder compound tyre. That's what a lot of guys don't quite work out, that they it's still a race, and although you can use harder compound tyres to last longer, you're better to get the grip there and just keep putting fresh tyres on. That's been proven time and time again.
Well, we're hearing about some more disappointing news right now. Certainly one of the most fancied and more credentialed teams, Steve Martin. Ducati boys are out.
Yes, we've just heard from our advisors in the pits that the Ducati seems to have some sort of a problem. Steve Martin pushing it back into the pits, and they were definitely one of the favoured teams. Riding the Ducati through Red's Motorcycles and North Coast Ducati. Oh, we've got another one here in trouble. He touched handlebars with another competitor. Now that's through the very fast left-hander turn 8, and was fortunate there, washed off a fair bit of speed, but saw that wall come out quite quickly and just jumped on the front brake and got off it.
Well, I think Jeffrey might be singing soprano after this one. You can see he's bent right over. Probably thought he almost did get away with that, but in the very deep and boggy kitty litter, it's going to be very fortuitous to be able to pull that one out. Let's look at it again in slow motion here. Gets a little bit of a wobble up just there and never really gets the corner back. In fact, oh wow, as soon as you sit up, you aren't going to turn left, are you?
You're doing over 100 mile an hour there, Wade, coming off there, 160 k's in the new language. He did a good job not to hit the wall, and yeah, very, very lucky. I think he just got upset. Couldn't quite see if he actually touched, but that's what upset him. The rider next to him came very, very close. Just picked it up, which sent him a bit of a wobble, and as I said, that corner is blind, so you can't afford to make a mistake there at all.
Oh, speaking of which, we got more trouble coming straight towards our camera position. It's Beebe, has unloaded right in front of the camera. Michael Beebe and Paul Beebe with Peter Jacobs riding as well, and whew, man, he's pulled up just short of the camera position. Man, it's frightening the speed at which they come off, and doesn't that thing just weigh a ton after you get off it?
It certainly does. That's a little 400 Honda, I think, by the looks of it. And yeah, the cameraman there sort of reeled back and did great to keep a good steady focus on things, because he would have been panicking.
He's thinking about a Logie, I think, that's.
Right. Yeah, you see him there trying to get the bike out there. It just shows you how soft that kitty litter is. Things wheel spinning there, and the slick tyres obviously not doing anything to aid the traction. He's going to need to get off and push it, as well as try and drive it out of there.
Another team that we've got to watch out for as we take another look in replay here. He kicks the bike pretty straight until this point. He's thinking, I'm not washing off near enough speed here, and then whooshka, fairly sedate towards the end. That could have been a lot worse than that. Well, at this point in proceedings, it's time to take a review of the first hour of the Austar Communications Two Wheels Magazine 6 Hour from Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway. We are high above the circuit here in our helicopter position. Here is the Le Mans start. We're about to go on board with the Aprilia 250. Whooshka, wow, away went the Buell just then. We get set to head down into turn 1. Talk about an interesting first hour. There was plenty of carnage in the early going. A lot of guys just pushing a little too hard in the early going. Everybody hoping for a big start to the day. Maverick machine of Thomas about to go down. One of the more fancy teams, and certainly one of the most amazing machines in the pits today. The Ducati, Steve Martin, going out early with mechanical problems. Here is another one of the get-offs. It's the spontaneity of motor racing, and yet another BB charging towards the camera position. At the end of the first hour, your leader is this man, Tony Reeves, aboard the 7 bike. Well, we're into hour 2 now, and not surprisingly, those rider changes have begun. Sean Geronimi is now aboard the Kawasaki that was so brilliantly ridden up in the top 3 by Chad Turnbull early in the day. Paul G is now on board the number 7. Tony Rees is going to be a happy boy. We'll go to him now in the pit area. I bet he's smiling like a Cheshire cat.
Yeah, it was good actually. Got a good jump at the start there, and just tried to keep, consistent. Bridgestone rear was working good, and the Dunlop front was working good, and just kept peeling off the laps. The gap between myself and second was changing all the time, but there's so much traffic out there. It's just try and pass the traffic and not without taking too many risks. So no, it was going good. Bike's going real good.
Was it always your plan to come in early?
Yeah, really haven't got that fuel, you know, like calculations sorted, and we just thought, well, rather than, you know, take a risk, I don't think we would have cut out a stop by going much longer, you know, and we're not running a big tank, so we thought we'd sort of, you know, work out how much we've used now from what we've put in, and then go from there, and if we can go longer, we will.
Right, now we have the bike handed over to Sean Geronimi, the former 250 Grand Prix rider, getting some great experience out here today on the 600. Now that bike's been put into a very, very strong position by the lead rider, Chad Turnbull.
Well, Chad Turnbull, that's a pretty solid ride. You're looking pretty fresh for someone who just did an hour.
It's only an hour. Come and see me after 3.
You're riding with a very talented youngster in Sean Geronimi. How do you think you'll combine?
I mean, yeah, he's riding well. I think it's the first time this weekend he's been on a full factory bike, and it's sort of it's blown him away a bit. The thing does what it wants it to do. So, I mean, he's going around in flat 40s, and if he does that all day, with the fuel stops and the tyre changes, you know, we'll be up there.
How's your fuel equation going to work?
Well, actually, I pulled in a couple of minutes early. They missed me board twice, and I wondered what was going on. I thought maybe I missed the inboard, so I pulled in. We still had 3 minutes to go. But